Hello, everyone. I'm Dalton Burdett,
I'm Nick Ericchio.
and we are the Movie Nights.
Well, some of them.
You're watching this because you want to hear our uncensored
Unfiltered.
thoughts and opinions on the world of movies and entertainment. So kick back
Relax.
and thank you for being part of the conversation. How's it going, buddy?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you, thank you. So, before we dive into this,
hmm
this episode is, by the way, we're only doing a couple more of these virtual ones for any new people joining us, and then we'll be back in the studio behind me. But before we dive in fully, this episode is airing on your birthday.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to show you what I got you for your birthday.
Oh, live on camera?
And I have not warned him about this.
He is not. I'm
Um,
very scared,
a
actually.
couple things. It's incredibly lame, first of all.
Great.
And secondly, I plan on doing more stuff for you. This is just all that could get here on time.
You don't have to do anything for me.
So, Nicholas, it's so dumb.
Is that a fucking green goblin bomb grenade?
Yes.
It lights up.
Yes, it does. All you got to do is shake it.
Where did you find that?
Amazon. Listen,
That's
it's big.
amazing.
Like it fits in my whole hand, but
Oh my
like
god.
it's such a childish plastic. Like, do not drop this. I like it will break. Like I have a feeling. I
Like
have
it
to be
is
very
very
careful.
cheaply made, but on a
Oh
shelf in the
yeah.
background, it looks incredible.
Yes.
That is
Precisely.
amazing. Thank you.
No problem. No
I
problem at
know
all.
exactly where I'm gonna put it.
Happy birthday. We
Oh,
love you.
no,
And
thank you.
with that down, we're going to move on to the movie news section of our show, where we kind of dive into the trades and break down what's going on in the world of movies and entertainment. So, Nicholas, what do you got for us first?
Our first story comes to us from Variety. Let me cheese the screen here. Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight is set to write the screenplay for the untitled Star Wars movie that Shareem Obaid Chinoy, who directed Ms. Marvel, is attached to direct. As original screenwriters, Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson have departed the project.
Yeah, so this came right off the heels in the news that Damon Lindelof had walked away from the project, and that was something that we'd reported on months ago. That Star Wars was developing a secret movie that had its own writers' room that Damon Lindelof was running, and it was going to be directed by I'm sorry, what was the director's name again?
Charmin Obaid Chinoy. I'm probably butchering that.
Charbin Chenoy. So basically,
Charmin.
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 Excuse us, but yes, I believe she directed a couple episodes of Miss Marvel and a few other things. Anyways, we were all like, "Oh, great, Damon Lindelof, Star Wars. They're taking it very seriously. This is great." And then Lucasfilm gonna Lucasfilm. He walked away from the project, and with some fun quotes along the way, basically saying something along the lines of, "If it's not going to be good, then don't do it," which is hilarious. But on top of that,
Fair point.
yeah, they had a writer in their back pocket ready to go, and that was Stephen Knight, who famously made the Matthew McConaughey Anne Hathaway movie Serenity, which was, for all the wrong reasons, one of my favorite theatrical movie-going experiences. But um, for you and for many fans of the show, what is Stephen Knight mostly known for doing, Nicholas?
Peaky fucking blinders.
Yes, he is the creator of Peaky Blinders, the head showrunner, lead writer.
Mhm.
So, having a mind like that coming on to do a Star Wars movie excites me. However, a couple things. One, how many months until we find out he's walked away or that there's going to be a new director? And two, is the movie even going to happen? Because who knows? Who knows? Because apparently this movie's priority one. Like, this is the one that they want to come out by Christmas of 2025. So they
Yeah.
got to get rolling on this thing. And I'm excited. I wonder how much of Lindelof's stuff they're going to use. I wonder how much is going to be Stephen Knight. And I wonder if he's going to walk away. What are your thoughts on this?
Peaky Blinders is one of my favorite shows, so I'm fully on board. When I first read it, I confused him with Stephen D. Knight,
Ah,
who handles Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I was excited. Um, but I believe he also worked on the Jason Momoa movie or TV show C
Mm-hmm.
on Apple TV, and I've heard that's actually pretty solid as well. But if you're taking it just at face value, Peaky Blinders, sign me up immediately. Um, I was looking up just some overall Star Wars information before the show. So, just some quick points. There has not been a Star Wars movie since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of TV shows. Um, Upcoming in April, we have Star Wars Celebration happening, where a lot of this is expected to be confirmed, announced, whatever be it. But I also wanted to take a look at Star Wars Past really
Go
quickly.
on. Mm-hmm.
Um, so of movies that have happened and are no longer happening, you have Patty Jenkins, you
Rogue
have
Squadron.
Kevin Feige,
Mm-hmm.
JD Dillard's.
Which project was that?
His was the one he did. Hold on. He worked on Devotion, the Jonathan Majors Glenn Powell
Okay,
movie. He was set to be developing a Star Wars movie.
gotcha.
That was it. That was all the news. It was Devotion filmmaker developing Star Wars movie, and then the next time we heard anything was JD Dillard no longer developing Star Wars movie. Um, and Benioff and Weiss's proposed trilogy
Mm-hmm.
is no longer happening. So they've
Yeah.
lost 4 movies
And Josh
and
Trank
Josh Trank Star
and
Wars movies.
Lord and Miller
Ryan
getting fired off a Solo.
was Ryan Johnson supposed to do another trilogy too?
He was supposed to do his own trilogy that technically hasn't been canceled, but like it has.
Yeah,
Like,
that's done. Yeah,
yeah.
no. But if we look at what's currently in development, it gets even more interesting. So there is now Stephen Knight's writing the movie from the director. You have Taika Waititi's movie still happening, and Sean Levy's Star Wars movie is still in development. Most interesting though, obviously that one is probably going to come later because he has Deadpool 3 on his plate, and he's
Mm-hmm.
also working on a TV show called All the Light We Cannot See, which he developed with Stephen Knight. So I wonder if Sean Levy was in a some sort of meeting when they
Mm-hmm.
lost Lindelof and them, and was like, "Well, I know a guy."
That's entirely possible. It's entirely possible.
But all good news. Hopefully this one happens because I think I'm more excited about a Stephen Knight Star Wars movie than a Damien Lindelof Star Wars movie.
Well, we can only hope to see if it still happens. But what do you guys think? Are you excited about Stephen Knight taking over writing duties on the next Star Wars movie? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Deadline. Paramount has set a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo as a potential Robert Downey Jr. star. Guess what, Dalton? Guess who's writing the script?
Who's writing the script?
Stephen Knight.
Amazing. He's having a hell of a week.
It really is. I wonder what's going to come first.
Yeah, I'm Vertigo. I can tell you that. Well, it depends on how far they move forward with it, but like, first of all, very exciting news, which I'm gonna get to in a second. But secondly, dude, as soon as he figured out Peaky Blinders on his last season, he said, "Yo, I'm getting work. Let's go." And he was like, "Time to get some writing gigs."
I'm
No,
getting paid.
yeah. But anyway, remake of Vertigo is very interesting. A lot of people know I changed my ideology on remakes a few years ago. I now view remakes as all welcome all the remakes, all the reboots, whatever. A lot of people say, "Oh, it tarnishes the original. It does this." Not true. The original film does not disappear. It's still available for you to watch. And the reason why I like remakes so much is because for two reasons. One, if it's great, then we have two great movies on the same story. And two, it has been proven in multiple studies that every time a movie gets remade, rentals and streaming data of the original skyrocket, which means because of this news, more people are going to watch Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo than ever have previously. And that's a great thing because that movie is excellent. It's one of the best. So that's great. I believe Robert Downey Jr. is attached to star.
Yes, I don't believe anything's confirmed, but
They're
he
just trying to
is.
get him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be interesting. He's had a nice little vacation since the MCU, and I think he's ready to go. Ready to see him up in Oppenheimer. I welcome this. I think this is exciting, and I think Paramount's the GOAT, so I have faith. What do you think?
I see only positives. One, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor. Two, Stephen Knight's a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
Three, Paramount is one of the best movie studios.
Mm-hmm.
Four, Alfred Hitchcock is the maestro.
Mm-hmm.
There's no director currently, which I think would intrigue me the most about this project to see who they try to go. And I feel like you have to just 180 it.
Yeah. You
Like,
can't just hand this movie to an up and comer. It's got to be someone who is well known and wants to put their stamp on this story.
yeah,
So
like a
I'm
Spielberg, not Steven Spielberg directing it, but like what he did
yeah,
with West Side Story, where it's like,
yeah.
I'm gonna keep it the same, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have my fun
Yeah,
with
this
it.
is my version of it. And I
Uh,
think, yeah.
Fun fact: that film was the first to use a dolly zoom.
Oh, yes.
Found
The
that out.
Hitchcock zoom.
Now,
Absolutely. Hence the name of the Vertigo shot is what many
now
people call that.
you mentioned that you said a few years ago your philosophy changed on reboots and remakes. Was there
Mm.
any particular movie that made that shift, or did you just kind of wake up one day and were like, all
Well,
right, let's do it?
it came from a debate. So
Okay.
because a few years ago, and it never even happened, but a few years ago, I got belligerently pissed because there was an announcement that Memento was being remade. And when I heard that Memento was going to be remade, I was like so upset about it because it's one of my favorite movies. And I was like going on and on, talking to friends, posting online, like, I can't believe they're
Mhm.
doing this. Like, it's going to ruin the movie. And just through discourse of people, through talking to people, through going on the internet, my opinion changed. I got convinced that it was not going to be a problem. And that it was just kind of based off of that. Came from a passionate moment that turned into a learning one. So there you
And that
go.
movie never happened.
No,
Mhm.
never even ended up happening. But yeah, I got mad about nothing. See, mad about nothing.
Mhm.
But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Vertigo getting a remake? Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to our next story. Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Deadline. There we go. Ba boom. Warner Brothers has won wins fevered weekend auction for T.J. Newman novel Drowning: The Rescue of Flight 1421. Deal reaches 1.5 million against 3 million in one of the wildest book rights auctions the town has seen in some time.
So, Nicholas, we love a bidding war here.
We
And
do.
a while ago on the show, months ago, maybe even like almost a year ago, we had talked about that this book, an early publication of this book, had leaked in the Hollywood studios and that it sparked major interest in people wanting to buy the rights to this book.
Yeah.
And as the book got through, and I believe it's been published, I think it has been. Correct me if I'm wrong, internet. But now it's at the point where the studios are seeing this and they're like, holy shit, we want this book right now. And it started a massive bidding war amongst all the studios and it won for what was the price you said? $1.5 million?
Yeah, it said 1.5 million against 3 million. I'm not sure what that phrasing means. I don't know if you know how that works.
I'm not smart, me neither. But we're in the millions, we're in the seven figures that this deal caused for a book not based on anything, which is crazy. So I'm looking forward to this movie. I believe in that same article, it kind of talks about what the plot of this story is. And it's actually really, really interesting if you want to.
Yep, I have that for you. In her second novel, Drowning, a plane crashes in the Pacific Ocean 6 minutes after takeoff and is flooded after an explosion during evacuation. A dozen survivors sink in a sealed part of the aircraft as it perches precariously on an undersea cliff 200 feet below the surface. Among them is an engineer and his 11-year-old daughter. The engineer's estranged wife, the girl's mother, is part of the elite rescue team that races to save them before their air runs out.
Yeah,
Rad.
that sounds awesome as hell. And so naturally, it causes great bidding war. And I can't wait for this movie. I'm going to be following it very closely, and we're going to be covering it on the news and anything that we hear about this. And how funny would it be if it goes through all this and it was a piece of shit? Not saying that it's going to be. I'm just saying it would be ironic and funny. But
Well,
yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't think it has the potential to be a piece of shit based on names that have been circling it. Have you seen that part of the article?
Oh yeah, let the people know.
Oh my god. All right. Among those circling as things heated up were Steven Spielberg, Alfonso Cuarón, Damien Chazelle, Nicole Kidman, the Russo brothers, M. Night Shyamalan, and producers including Jerry Bruckheimer, Peter Chernin, and 21 Laps. Ultimately, the bidding came down to 5 offers: Apple with Jerry Bruckheimer, Paramount with Damien Chazelle, Warner Brothers, Legendary, and Universal Television, with Warner Brothers taking the cake.
Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. Can you imagine waking up as this author? Like, just like what hell of a time you got to be having with all this amazing news.
Where's M. Night Shyamalan at? Is he Warner Brothers or is he Universal?
He's Universal.
Good.
What do you guys think about this incredible sounding book causing a bidding war and winning millions to be made into a movie? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. But first, I'm going to let my dog out of this room because it keeps whining.
All right, our last major story is kind of all over the place, so I'm just gonna generally introduce the topic. Victoria Alonso over at Marvel Studios has been fired.
Yes. So for anyone listening going, I don't who's Victoria Alonso, what's going on? I'll kind of break it down for you the best I can. So we all know who Kevin Feige is, the president, the Lord and Savior of Marvel Studios. And he has two right-hand people who've always been with him since day one, since the beginning. And that's Louis Desposito and Victoria Alonso. She started off as a co-producer on the first Iron Man, eventually becoming an executive producer by the Avengers. And she was recently promoted a few years ago to head of all of production and post-production. Like, she was in charge of making sure everything was delivered on time and everything was on schedule. And of course, as the MCU ramped up, her job got increasingly hard. But we basically, the first story came out is that she's no longer with Marvel and no one knew what happened. I believe THR broke that. They're like, hey, we just found out that as of Friday, she no longer works for Marvel. And then, rumors started to circulate, especially with what we've talked about on the show of VFX houses being very displeased working with Marvel. And since she's the head of making sure that thing gets run, we were like, oh, is accountability happening with that? What's going on? And then we start hearing stories of her and how she could potentially have been blacklisting people who weren't doing things that she wanted to do and preferring picking favorites over other vendors. But when you really think about it, what job doesn't do that? I mean, it's not great, but it's that's kind of standard business stuff. Like, if I like you, I'm going to go with you, kind of thing. So we're all kind of like, what's going on here? Well, the whole story is a bit more complicated than that, and it turns out she breached her contract, at least according to Disney. That contract being, you can't work for and promote rival studios. And what had happened is she produced a film that was nominated for an Oscar for Best International Feature called Argentina 1985. She was one of the lead producers on that film. So first of all, producing that film, breach of her contract, I believe either Deadline or Hollywood Reporter states that she was sent several emails and given several notices throughout the making of that film, hey, you're breaching your contract and you have not talked about what's going on here. And she produced the whole movie, promoted the movie, and then went to the Oscars not to support Black Panther, but to support this movie. Well, now you might be thinking that's kind of messed up. She just wanted to make a movie. Sure, but it's black and white in her contract that you can't work and promote for other studios. Now, this is kind of a shame because she's been a trailblazer in representation for especially behind the scenes work. She is I believe she is a Latina woman, she is a gay woman, and she's been in a very high position at one of the highest studios for a long time, and it's always been a very groundbreaking, trailblazing thing. And so this happening is unfortunate. However, this is indicative of one, Disney and Marvel being very serious about their contracts, and two, Does the VFX thing have something to do with this? Like, do you think it was two compounded things happening? Like, she was already in trouble with the breaching of the contract, and the VFX problems just kind of was icing on the cake, and they needed a scapegoat. That's kind of what it's looking like right now. But the on paper reason she was fired was breach of contract, and her lawyers have already said that they're going to fight that back, with Disney also responding saying like good luck, but that's what happened. It was a breach of contract. So basically it got messy with the Victoria Alonso firing. She'd been at Marvel for 17 years and no longer works for them. Nicholas, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was looking at how long she's been with the company. She's been involved with Marvel Studios since Iron Man
Mm-hmm.
and has been an executive producer on everything since Avengers 1.
Yeah.
So this is like a huge shakeup for that company.
Mm-hmm.
As far as everything that happens, I think that if the breach of contract is true, I think they are marrying that with goodwill about the VFX thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think any one person is an island when it comes to the VFX thing. I think that that
Yeah.
is a greater issue throughout all of Hollywood. And I doubt that if we look at Marvel Studios or even Disney in general, I doubt it can all just be drawn back to her. But to the general kind of news people, having a scapegoat and then working on it behind the scenes, I think would service that. But having her breach her contract obviously is the issue. And if she was willingly breaching it, she had to have probably known this was coming. So maybe she also wanted out and this was a way to do it.
Yeah.
Now,
True.
I believe that she believes heavily. I saw Argentina. It was a fantastic movie. I see why she wanted to be involved with it. It's an important story to tell, especially um, coming from she is Hispanic, correct? Latina.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially for in terms of representation of that. So I could see wanting to work on something like that, especially if that's kind of where your ideologies lie. Um, but a breach of contract is a breach of contract, and they said that she was doing it without permission. So I'm curious too, because if it was a matter of just getting approval, I don't think anything was conflicting there. I doubt,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I
What
mean.
was the what was the holdup with that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, if she was doing that willingly, then it makes me think: did she perhaps want out, or something else has to be going on there? Because if it was simple as all you just had to do was ask permission, why didn't she just do that?
Yeah, yeah. So, look, it's so far that's the story. As it develops more, we'll bring you the updates, but it's a crazy situation nonetheless. What do you guys think of Victoria Alonso being fired from Marvel Studios after 17 years? Let us know in the comments. As we move on to the B-roll section of our show, what's the B-roll? Well, it's kind of an extension of the movie news section, except we don't have time to dive into them as topics, but we still wanted to bring you the headlines to let you know what's going on. So, Nicholas, what's first up on the B-roll?
All right, let's get to the Smokehouse Pictures. Partner George Clooney and Grant Heslov have signed an overall film deal with Warner Brothers. This just comes off the heels of Warner Brothers just trying to revitalize their studio or talent first, with the directors, creators, and everything like that. So George Clooney has a home. They've done all the Ocean's movies, Argo, The Tender Bar, Ticket to Paradise. So kind of a mixed bag of things, but overall positive. So it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, baby steps from
Um,
WB.
yes. Oscar winner Questlove has found his next movie, and that is a remake of Aristocats.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say about that.
Questlove deserves better.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, he willingly signed on to it. I'm sure it's going to be good. He directed a wonderful documentary, but
Hmm.
let's give him something interesting to play with, not Aristocats.
Yes.
The Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel has started rounding out its cast with new additions Kamal Nanjiani and Patton Oswald, as well as comedians James Acaster and Emily Allen Lynn. Never a bad idea to add talent, and I love both Kamal Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome.
And this last one is kind of a big one, but we'll get it. Uh, Liv Tyler is set to return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Betty Ross, sorry, in Captain America 4.
This beyond this excites me beyond any capacity. I've always said I wanted to see Betty Ross again. Is this even a Captain America movie? It's basically the Incredible Hulk 2. I'm in, right? I'm so in. It's got the leader, it's got Thunderbolt Ross, who's probably going to be Red Hulk, and it's got Betty Ross. Bring in Mark Ruffalo. I'm waiting for the announcement that Mark Ruffalo is in this film also.
Red Hulk as president.
Yeah.
Remember that report?
Yes.
Why would they make a Captain America movie all the Hulk? Is She-Hulk going to be in this then? I feel like there's so many.
You're asking the wrong question, Nicholas. The question is why not? Why not make the Captain America movie all the Hulk people? Why not?
Just bring back Ty Burrell.
Facts. I forgot he was an Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next section of our show, I want to briefly touch, we're not going to dive into it, on the Jonathan Majors stuff going on. Basically, Jonathan Majors has been arrested for a domestic violence case. That story is far from over. There's a lot of stuff going on from different lawyers' perspectives and all these things, and we don't want to report on it until it directly affects upcoming movies or the industry as a whole, which is why we're not going to report on it at this time. However, I just want to say, whoever the victim is in this case, I hope they recover and I hope they're okay. And if Jonathan Majors gets his name cleared, then we'll have nothing to worry about. So as it gets more finite is when we'll kind of be reporting on that moving forward. So that's what we're going to touch upon that for now. But with that out of the way, let's move on to the box office.
The box office
section of our show. Nicholas, do you happen to have our predictions?
I do.
Give
Dalton, you had John Wick, Shazam 2, Scream 6, Creed 3, and 65. I had John Wick 4, Scream 6, Shazam 2, Creed 3, and Inside.
Nicholas, I was so close.
Oh yeah?
I was off by $20,000.
Ooh, go on.
So coming in first place this week at the box office was John Wick Chapter 4, making $73.8 million. Coming in second, dropping 69%, Shazam Fury of the Gods, making $9 million.
69% second week?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Wow. Coming in third was Creed 3, making $8.36 million. Coming in fourth, Scream 6, making $8.33. Damn it.
Damn.
Million dollars. And coming in fifth was 65, making $3.2 million. Let's dive into it just a little bit more. John Wick Chapter 4 worldwide has already made $137 million. These are the final Monday numbers, by the way. And has already made 1.5 times its budget back, so it's moving and grooving. It's going to make all kinds of money. Shazam Fury of the Gods has made $101 million worldwide on a budget of 125. That's a flop, and that's really sad to see. Creed 3 is at 246 worldwide. It's definitely going to cross 250 in its run. Good for them. Scream 6 is about to cross 140 worldwide. Great for them. It was made on a budget of 35. Killing it.
Oof.
And 65, however, has made $48 million worldwide on a budget of 91. So also a flop, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the top 5 box office, and that's the really dive into it. Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably not going to hit 500 million. It's made 464, which is 2.3 times its budget, and it failed. It might be one of the first MCU movies to straight up fail.
John Wick gonna make shmoney though, right?
Oh yeah.
At least at this point.
Yeah.
Like the disparity between the first and second is wild to me.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So now we're gonna do our predictions for next week's box office. Nicholas, would you like to go first?
Sure thing. So I'm gonna go Dungeons and Dragons #1.
Bold.
I'm going to go John Wick #2.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Shazam #3.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Creed 3 #4, and I'm gonna go Scream 6 #5. What are you feeling?
I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna do the same exact thing as you. Did you have what were your 4 and 5?
Creed 3 and then Scream 6.
I'm gonna flip Scream and Creed 3.
All right, so you are going Dungeons and Dragons, John Wick, Shazam 2, Scream, and Creed.
Yes, I'm gonna make the same exact mistake that I made last time, and hopefully it'll work out. I have faith. I have faith that Scream will overcome Creed this time. We'll see. We shall
Good
see.
to have dreams.
It really is. But yes, that is going to be the box office, guys. Now we're going to move on to the movie review section of our show. Boy, oh boy, did we see a killer fucking movie.
Yes, we did.
John Wick Chapter 4. Let's not waste any time. Holy fuck, this movie is good. This is
Incredible.
easily the #1 movie of the year so far. It is March, but it's easily the #1 so far. I liken this movie to The Raid 2 in that the first Raid is just this action movie that's art is told in its action sequences and with a plot that's pretty thin but enjoyable. Like it's not a bad. The Raid's my favorite action movie of all time, but the story was simple enough to where you could get to the action. The Raid 2 expands hugely on the world, creates this big epic scope and story within that world, and still brings you those action sequences. And John Wick 4 does that with the first 3 John Wick movies being The Raid. John Wick 4 is The Raid 2. And it does an exceptional job. The cinematography is beautiful. The set design is beautiful. The sound, always great. No John Wick movie's ever been nominated for sound at the Oscars, and it upsets me greatly. It's such a spectacle, and it's so well done, so well made. I didn't even feel the 3-hour runtime personally. I wanted it to be longer. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, more of this. Just please give me more of this. It was such an epic, adrenaline-fueled, hyper-real movie. And every action set piece, from the one in Japan to the one in Paris, unbelievable. So good. Your thoughts, Nicholas?
I agree. This is just genre maximalist filmmaking at its pinnacle, and I could have watched it for 8 hours.
Yes, 1,000%.
There are 3 rules for every John Wick movie. And it's 1, passerbys are oblivious to everything that's happening around them. 2, John Wick never, and I mean never, will take fall damage.
Ever.
And 3, which is my personal favorite, it is always easier to throw your gun at the enemy instead of reloading.
Yes.
Um,
Without fail.
I think what most impresses me about the John Wick franchise as a whole is that I rank them now 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, they each get better.
And they're all fantastic, but I can't think of any other franchise that gets better with each passing movie. Fast and Furious.
I think the closest one is Mission Impossible, but
Shrek.
even then, but even then, that's not accounting Mission Impossible 2, which I think 1 is better than 2. But I think after that, each one gets better. Yeah, no, that's a tough one. And like, listen, we got spin-offs coming that I'm stoked to see. We got The Continental coming out this year. We got Ballerina coming out next year. Bring the shit on, dude. I'm excited.
The John Wick universe is alive and well. What were some of the highlights for you for this one?
Without getting into like spoiler territory, the entire third act, they nail the third act of this movie. Like, it involves a bunch of stairs and a bunch of sunsets, and it is awesome. Emotionally and physically.
You know your movie's going to be good when the first shot is a match cut to Lawrence of Arabia.
Yes. And yeah, that was a standout. Donnie Yen, big
Mhm.
standout. Although he's close to being typecast as just the blind badass. He needs to be careful.
I mean, he's
um
amazing at everything he does, first of all.
yes, yes. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed, hold on, I'm gonna look up the person's name because they're a singer that's in this movie that did a fantastic job in the movie. I have to look up their name. I feel so dumb for not having it ready. But this actress, her
Rina
name,
Sawayama,
yes,
named
incredible.
Akira in the movie.
Yes, did an excellent job. Excellent job in the movie. Okay, and Scott Atkins.
Scott Adkins showed up, stole the movie, and left.
Yes, he did. That's exactly what happened.
They let Scott
Um,
Adkins act. He
they
never gets
did.
to act.
No, and he was in a ridiculous fat suit, but that made it so much better. Made
Okay,
it
okay.
so much better.
They got two Bond villains in this, and I loved it.
They did.
They had this cunning, conniving one Marquis played by is it Bill? Is it Bill Skarsgård?
Yes, I believe that's Bill.
The one who was it,
Mhm.
Pennywise. He's that sort of vibe, the rich kind of, and Scott Adkins as Killa. It's just in this fat suit, gold member, just or gold figure, just having like the time of his life. It just playing a ridiculous, like almost takes you out of the movie crazy character,
Yes.
but in the absolute best way possible.
And I also loved Mr. Nobody. I thought that was a great character. And I loved Clancy Brown.
As the Harbinger.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I know I'm going on and on about positives of this movie. I
Yeah.
think Bill Skarsgård's been the best John Wick villain we've had.
Who was three?
3 was the adjudicator, the woman who would like come around and like
Right.
hunt
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Wick. She's the one that cut
Mhm.
up Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. When your movie starts off with Lawrence Fishburne saying at the top of his lungs, "You are in the presence of the motherfucking king," your movie just like you would have thought it peaked there. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's how it starts, and it's
You
just
can
goes on.
always rely on Lawrence Fishburne to have the greatest line delivery.
Yes,
Just in
every
general,
time.
not even in John Wick.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I loved was Mr. Nobody, is that Tracker or is that someone different?
Yeah, the one with the dog.
Okay, yeah, Tracker. That is Shamir Anderson. And I know there are spin-offs coming. I know there's Ballerina with Anna de Armas in the works, but I hope we get the Tracker spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would not be surprised if they announced one with Akira, the singer.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, it was an amazing movie. I'm gonna go see it again at some point. It's unbelievable. I
When you
loved
have
it.
5 hours.
Yeah, yeah. When I got some extra time,
Mhm.
but yeah. Um, Overwhelming recommendation for me.
Abs-
Absolutely.
just to watch an overhead tracking one shot that they do. There's a fight scene that is video game style, and it honestly
Which
it's the best part of the movie.
with dragon breath shotgun shells.
Yeah,
It's so good. It's
see
so
it
good.
just for that,
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Yeah.
and for all of
Amazing.
the 100 words Keanu Reeves says in 3 hours.
Yes. Yes. Amazing. Um, yeah. So that's the review basically. I assume
Yeah,
it's a recommend for you as well.
absolutely recommend.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, please go watch John Wick 4 at your earliest convenience, everybody. And with that being said, I think that's all we had for the show today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.